Want to make fun of a Christian movie? I do. But actually, what are we gonna do about this movie? When I came across this thumbnail, I was so ready to bring out my popcorn, sit back and giggle at this cheesy little chick flick. No, that is not what this movie is. I mean, what do you think when you look at this thumbnail? Looks pretty cute. I don't know, looks pretty cute to me. No. If I had just taken 1 minute to read the description before watching this movie, a police officer's battle with alcoholism, depression, and devastating loss. Not a chick flick. Not a chick flick. Honestly, this movie really rides the line of what I would consider a drama. One might even say it's on the border of being a horror movie. A horror thriller horror, if you will. So trigger warning. Seriously, trigger warning for this Christian movie. Disturbing imagery, excessive intensity, alcoholism, and unaliving of oneself. So, if any of those things are a little bit too much for you to handle, maybe skip out on this one. This movie is based on a true story. I want to make it clear. I am in no way making fun of the people who this is their real story. I am looking at this as a movie, a piece of art, a cinematic thing. I was gonna say masterpiece, but I don't think that's the right word. Not in any way is this a criticism of this person's life. I am fully aware that by doing this, I am definitely going to hell. But so are you, so it's fine. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into this freaking movie. Break Every Chain just immediately jumps into being so intense.
When you experience death like I have, you see that God's not there.
We open on a police officer viewing a scene of a motorcycle crash and looking over a body with intense music playing underneath. This officer is named Jonathan, good old Officer Jonathan, and we are informed right away this man is an atheist. Well, at least the Christian version of an atheist, if you know what I mean.
Tell me, Pastor, why does God let bad things happen to good people?
The type of person who deep down really knows that God is real, but they're just mad at God. By the way, that's not how atheists work. Saying you don't believe in God because you're mad at God for whatever reason implies an inherent belief in God to begin with. Someone who is, in fact, actually an atheist would say something more like, you know, I studied this out, I did my research, and based on my experience, there is nothing to indicate that God is real. We're not even 1 minute into this movie, so I'm gonna stop ranting now.
Maybe he's talking, Jonathan, and you're just not listening.
I wonder what you'd say if you saw the things I've seen.
We then experience a flashback into Officer Jonathan's memory as he tells the pastor about his father who passed away.
So what do you think for your next birthday if we take you deep sea fishing?
That's pretty cool.
I didn't realize it then, but that was my last good memory of my dad.
This movie takes show, don't tell a little bit too far.
Daddy's really sick. Jesus is going to take him to heaven soon.
I won't be able to take it to the ocean. I'm sorry.
It lasts so long. It's like they have to show you every single thought and every single emotion that these people are experiencing to the point where it's a little bit too much. It's distressing. Like, we get it. This was a traumatic experience. You don't need to traumatize me, too. I would not like to be traumatized as well.
Why did Daddy die? We prayed for him.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You don't understand.
Jonathan, wait, please. Jonathan!
We then flash forward 8 years. We see Jonathan training to become a police officer, which involves a lot of shooting guns. Lots of guns. Just so much guns.
Put your hands on the ground!
And then it's followed by basically what's like an unofficial advertisement for the police, which, you know, all right.
Then why do you want to be a cop?
I want to make a difference, sir.
Get back! Get back! Get back! I want to protect and serve, sir. I want to be a better man, sir. Get back!
Welcome to the force. Congratulations, Hickory. You made it.
Thank you, sir.
Proud of you.
You see where this is going. See what we're trying to promote here. After Jonathan finishes his training, he hops on a fancy motorcycle because Jonathan, he's a motorcycle guy. Beautiful motorcycle ride to meet up with this girl, Stacy.
How'd it go?
I don't think I did that great.
You're going to figure out a way to get in there, right?
Yeah? I guess that's why you're looking at the new Officer Hickory.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Now, initially, my chick flick romance brain is going, well, this isn't gonna work out. This is so soon. This is so soon. Too soon into this story to have a cutesy relationship, alright? You gotta have that suspense. You gotta build it up. You gotta keep me interested. Me, specifically. This is the only thing I came here to see. Okay?
I plan on falling in love with you over and over and over again for the rest of my life. So will the most beautiful girl in the world marry me?
They're already a perfect happy couple, actually. He's already proposed to this girl. So where is this movie going? Oh no. We already know where this movie's going. It's not good. So what's gonna happen with this fiance situation? Where's the drama gonna come in? They get married in the next scene. So they're married. At the wedding, his mom gives him a big hug and says, oh, I wish your father were here. Just to reiterate that his father's passing was a huge part of his life, which, fair. But then he's so grossed out by his mom kissing him. You're a full grown adult. Your mom can kiss you on the cheek. It's not that weird.
Mom!
We now flash forward again to Jonathan's conversation with Mr. Pastor Man, where, dun dun dun, we learn that something is wrong.
She's the reason I'm here today. She's the love of my life. I really don't deserve her.
What happened to that happy couple? When did things go wrong?
Then we flash back, again, to Officer Jonathan's first day on the job. Our new rookie boy. Let's go, Jonathan. He meets his new partner, Steve Watson.
Steve Watson, field training officer.
This man is really intense.
Let's get this straight. I run a tight ship. We do it by the book. If you're gonna get trained by me, you do what I say when I say it. If you hesitate, it could cost you your life. Now fix your collar. You're a professional and you need to look like one.
But you're fun at parties.
No, I am not fun.
I bet this job is really fun. They jump into the car and immediately get radioed about some gunshots. So we're just jumping right into the police work, baby. They get out of the car, they hear shots fired, they sneak up really close to where the sound is coming from. They hear a train warning, some more gunshots, and then see... Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna let you watch this. You tell me what this is. I don't get it.
Hey, police! Put your gun down now!
I almost shot him.
I know, but you didn't. You know why? You used your brain. Good instincts, son. Good instincts. Come on.
What happened? There's some guys walking by a moving train holding guns. The cops yell. The guys ignore the cops. Then John almost shoots the guy, which is not surprising considering his police training consisted entirely of shooting. Like, why? What? What happened? Okay, my first thought here in this situation, my man's needs some therapy, okay? His first instinct, first day on the job, is to shoot somebody.
I almost shot him.
And then Steve is all like, well, you didn't shoot him, so you're fine.
Good instincts, son.
Excuse me? No! And can you explain to me how these guys did not notice the police? That being weird in and of itself, these guys go into the house and put their guns away, I guess, and then they come back out of the house without their guns, and then they see the police?
Police, freeze! Get on the ground now! What's going on? All of you, on the ground now! Hands where I can see them!
What? Why? I don't even understand what they did that was wrong. Like, why are they getting arrested? What happened? Well, despite the situation being really confusing, John is very deeply affected by this. He gives Stacy a call, but for some reason he just can't bring himself to tell Stacy what just happened and how he almost just used a firearm on somebody for no reason. So he just says everything's fine.
It's a slow night. Pretty boring, actually.
And Steve, again, is just like, good job.
You did the right thing over there. We need to bring this world into our homes. Our families don't need to know what's going on out here.
Steve, I'm not impressed, Steve.
No, I am not fun.
They immediately get another urgent police call where a young girl, 16-year-old Sydney, has passed away in an accident. John walks up to the scene alone for some reason and sees Sydney's arm hanging out of the car. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is a Christian movie, so that's all we're gonna see. That we're just gonna see a little arm. No. We then get an extremely unsettling close-up of Sydney's face, and it just sits there for so long, like just so long of this disturbing image on screen. I don't need to see that. After this, Jonathan is again clearly distraught by this situation, and good old Steve comes up and is like,
Couldn't do this job without Jesus.
Really?
Yeah.
and then hands him a business card?
Take this. That's our church. You should stop by sometime.
Why do you have a business card for your church? That could be a totally normal thing, and I just have no clue. So we now know that Steve is a Christian guy. He's a Jesus man. So much so that they're parked in another situation and Steve just pulls a Bible out of the sunshade of the car. What a weird place to keep a Bible, of all things. So Steve is the business card, Bible in the sunshade kind of Christian. So much so that he chooses not to go to the bar after work with all the other cops. And we're given the contrast of partner Steve, straight-laced cop who's a Jesus man through and through, who couldn't do this job without Jesus.
I am not fun.
Contrasted with the other cops who just could not do this job without alcohol.
It'll get easier. Sooner or later, you won't feel a thing.
So, hey, any cops out there watching this, is being a traffic cop really so intense that you need alcohol every day or Jesus every day to cope with the stresses of your job? Let me know in the comments. Very curious. So then John goes home and Stacy's like, where have you been?
Where you been?
You know, the guys, they wanted to celebrate the rookie's first day. Couldn't say no.
What? He didn't tell her that he was out at the bar after work. He just stayed at the bar, like didn't tell his wife he was going to be late. She's sitting home worrying about him. My guy, marriage communication issues have already begun. After his first day of work, we see John's plummet into alcoholism. As we watch an excessively long montage of John drinking, we also start jumping back into flashbacks of the traumatic instances we have already seen. Another example of this show taking show don't tell a little bit too far. Now we get a little bomb dropped on us. Apparently Stacy is a true believing Christian. Stacy invites over a group of women to hold a prayer circle to pray for her husband who is slowly withering away into a shell of the man he once was. The shell of a man who deeply needs therapy. Despite all of this, Officer John is doing so well at his job that he gets a promotion.
So I've been talking to your FTO. He tells me you have some talent.
Just doing my job, sir.
Well, that's certainly good to hear. Apparently you're doing it really well. We're thinking about moving you up. How do you feel about the traffic safety unit?
And he gets a vehicle upgrade, baby.
You get a motorcycle and an unmarked car. Congratulations, son.
And John actually looks pretty happy for a minute. So good for you, John. You ride that motorcycle.
There is no way on God's green earth they are trusting that to you. Hey, were you able to find a big enough helmet to go over that head of yours?
Don't be mad they don't make these for senior citizens, Rodriguez.
However, the happiness doesn't last long because John quickly comes across another horrifying accident.
Possibly children in the vehicle, unknown injury.
He goes to the bar again after work and gets a very unsympathetic response from his coworker.
That bad, huh?
Whole family. It was horrible.
What can I say, kid? It's part of the job. Someone's got to do it.
Just part of the job. If being a police officer is like this, and you need to self-medicate with alcohol every day because of how much trauma you're experiencing that's just part of the job, nobody should have that job. The duties need to be spread a little bit. I think that is too much for one person to handle. These men all need therapy. Mandatory therapy. We now see another lengthy montage of John going to sites of car accidents and taking photos of very traumatic things, intermixed with him drinking very heavily. We then see John at dinner with his wife, where the man is just checked out.
Jonathan.
John is not okay. Something is wrong. I think he needs a little more than prayers, to be quite frank. Well, the next morning, John wakes up to a surprise from Stacy, where he finds out she's pregnant. She's preggers. Stacy has already left for the school where she works. John immediately hops on his cop motorcycle and rides to the school, traumatizes a couple of children, and hugs his wife. These kids should be way more confused. Now, despite all of his issues, John is actually a really good dad. He's attentive and loving, and we see him helping take care of the baby at night, which is a lot more help than a lot of women get from their husbands. We see that John hides his alcohol in the fireplace, which I don't think is a very good idea. Doesn't seem like a very safe hiding spot for a flammable substance. But I digress. We see a juxtaposition of John's alcohol with a baby bottle, and this seems to spark something in John where he decides he needs to change. He needs to get over his addiction. He throws all his alcohol in the garbage in his mighty triumphant moment for John. However, in the morning, Stacy leaves for a party, and John immediately starts having withdrawals. Apparently, his alcoholism is so bad that if he doesn't go a few hours without alcohol, he starts to shake. And I just have a very quick question. If his alcoholism is this bad, how is this man excelling so much at his job? He's gotta be like maybe 25 at this point, and he's already getting promotions over his more senior colleagues, yet at the same time he's an extremely traumatized alcoholic. How do these things work together? Is that possible? Is that normal? We now have yet another flash forward of 8 years, where we see Jonathan receiving an award of Officer of the Year. The marriage is clearly in a rocky place.
Jonathan, you reek of alcohol.
Now, we had an advertisement earlier in this movie for the police. We now get another advertisement. This one is an anti-drunk driving PSA.
I unfortunately know better than most the horrific, tragic effects of drunk driving.
Yeah. It's not why I came to watch this movie, but yes, technically, good message. And this is also followed by flashbacks that we have already seen twice, in case you forgot about all the flashbacks and the trauma. We now come upon another scene, a familiar scene, where back at the beginning of the movie, the opening scene, this is where we're now in the present. It's not a flash anymore. It's now. We get a little more context to this situation and find out that the person who's passed away in this motorcycle accident was A, killed by a drunk driver, and B, happened to be somebody that John knew from high school. John absolutely freaks out on the drunk driver who killed his old friend.
What I say? Get out of the car! Look at what you did! Look at what you did! You killed him! You killed him!
John visits the family of this man who passed away, and he's confused because they're not angry like he is. They actually immediately forgive the drunk driver because they are good Christian folk. We jump back to John's conversation with the pastor, where he's explaining his confusion at this family being so forgiving. Rightful confusion, dare I say.
They were calm and peaceful, and that infuriated me. Here's this drunk who just took the life of their loved one over some stupid bottle of liquor, and they just forgave him. Just like that.
We then get this interaction.
Where was Jesus when that guy swerved through 3 lanes and killed Daniel?
Jonathan, Jesus didn't kill Daniel. Why don't you blame Satan?
What? You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. You can't blame God's shortcomings on Satan. What?
I'm having a really hard time buying that.
You want help? I'm trying to help you.
He wouldn't understand.
Then make me understand.
We now jump back into another flashback. This time, John is enjoying his hidden alcohol when he overhears a scream from inside of his house.
Stacy!
Stacy has unfortunately had a miscarriage. John runs up to the bedroom and his mother is there. Why? Why is his mom there? His mom just like pushes him out and is like, go call the police, go call the police. Like, the mom is the one who knows what's going on in this situation, apparently. Shouldn't she be like, hey, come take care of your wife. I'm gonna go call the police. Don't just yell at him to go away and call the police. You're shutting him out from his wife. He's running to be a good husband and you're pushing him out of this situation, Mom. And now it's time for ad number 3. Yeah, this is lots of agendas in this movie. This one is a pro-life ad, which at this point, I shouldn't have been surprised. I was surprised. I shouldn't have been.
At 14 weeks, the brain impulses in an unborn baby begin to fire. At 15 weeks, the unborn baby can sense light. At 19 weeks,
John's police officer friends come over to hold a little funeral for the baby, which is actually very sweet. And Steve comes back in with another one of those business cards.
You should come to church with us.
Classic Christians. Just gotta plug Jesus whenever you can, you know? Especially in times of hurt and trauma. I'm sure Jesus gave you lots of points for that one, Steve. Good job. Instead of comforting his grieving wife, John decides to go trash the garage. Because he still has not been to therapy and still does not know how to process his feelings. And if we weren't already well aware of John's alcoholism, we get another drinking montage. Stacy just prays again for her husband, which I think is sending not the best message, but, you know, go off, queen. And as she's praying, we see, you guessed it, another montage. Except this one gives us a little bit more information. This time we see John pull over a lady who gives him the sexy eyes. He somehow wins another Officer of the Year award and then begins an affair with the sexy-eyed lady. Now, just a sidebar really quick. It's so clear that this woman is like a very Christian person. You can just tell this actress is so uncomfortable playing this role. She definitely went outside of her comfort zone on this one, and I'm proud. Apparently, news of the affair has spread to John's place of work. I don't really know how, but John is now under investigation. If he has violated this police precinct's code of conduct, which he has, he will lose his job. These guys take their code of conduct really seriously, which props to that. We then overhear Stacy telling the story of Jonah to her daughter, where we see yet another montage of traumatic flashbacks that we have already seen. Stacy talks about how Jonah had a purpose, so God sent a big storm and a big fish to go get him, to bring him back. That voiceover with the traumatic flashbacks implies that the storm and the whale in this situation is John being extremely traumatized. So all of these horrible traumatic instances that John has been experiencing are just God's way of bringing him back? God? No! That is not a healthy parenting strategy. I'm just saying. At the end of this intense montage, we see that all of this trauma has driven John to the point where he's about to do something very serious to himself with a firearm. Luckily, John comes to his senses and instead drunkenly walks himself to church. This is where he begins his conversation with the pastor.
You've seen so much death. Your whole profession revolves around the evil in this world. You see Satan's handiwork every day.
We're now 3/4 of the way through this movie, and we are finally in real time, man. We are caught up. We did it. We're in the present now. The pastor gives John a pep talk, telling him he needs to start doing things God's way.
You need Jesus.
And actually, for the first time, I kind of agree with this pastor.
You need to be honest about your affair, about your drinking, about the way you've been treating your family. There are consequences to your actions. Jesus is not going to change that.
So John takes his first steps to becoming a Jesus man. He goes home and tells Stacy that he's wanting to be a better man. He doesn't mention the affair or the alcoholism, but he does say he's gonna be a better man. And of course, Stacy has been praying for this man for years, so she's absolutely ecstatic.
Stacy, what I'm asking is forgive me.
Okay.
I'm working on it. I'm going to be better.
Her prayers have been answered. Yay! And apparently, Being a better man means buying your daughter a huge ice cream cone.
This one's for you, and this one's for me.
John then gets a call from work, on his day off, mind you, letting him know that the investigation into his morality is now finished. Before going back to work, John visits with the pastor to beg the pastor to pray for him so that he can keep his job. And again, points to this pastor for his response.
I'm about to find out if I lost my job. I could really use a prayer right now.
I told you before, there are consequences to your actions, and praying won't make them go away. But God promises to be there to help you through those consequences.
John then says quite an eloquent prayer before going into work.
God, please help me keep my job.
In meeting with the boss man, he is given dismissal without pay. So, fired, I think, right? That means he's fired, right? And honestly, good on them. Good on this police precinct for honoring their moral code and getting rid of an officer who was not living up to their standards. You know what? I think this is good. All of this is leading up to a life change for John. Like, clearly this job is not working out for him. It's not good for his mental health. It's not good for his family. Maybe getting fired from this job and choosing another direction could be the best thing for him. And maybe that's what God was doing for him all along, was helping him get fired.
The job is all I know, sir. It's my passion.
Wait, no. No.
It's what I'm good at.
No, John, no.
It's the only thing I'm good at.
John, this is not all you can do.
But I want you to know that I'm working on it and I'm going to be a better man.
Look, Jonathan, you know, I'm actually willing to bet my badge on you, and I truly believe everyone deserves a second chance. That's why I got him to keep you on the force.
Thank you.
Oh, no. Don't thank me yet. Oh, no, you will be disciplined. You will immediately be sent to the Uniform Patrol Division on the midnight shift.
I don't have words to properly express how disappointed this made me feel. So John was literally just in this meeting and had to give his motorcycle keys back because he was demoted. As he's leaving, we see his motorcycle like being driven away. They were on that. John goes home and lies to Stacy about why he's now working the night shift.
You've been working so hard. What happened?
There was a vehicle pursuit a few months ago. Remember the one I was telling you about?
Yes.
Gave the suspect a break. Didn't write him up. Turns out they had warrants. So, look, I think I like this better anyways.
So much for becoming a better man.
You need Jesus.
His first night on his new shift, John is put into a police chase of sorts where he ends up in a very life-threatening situation and sees his life flash before his eyes. He's saved at the very last minute by backup. Holy shit, what is this movie? And when he gets home from work in the morning, he sees his mother there.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Get in the car, Jonathan.
Stacy has somehow been informed about the affair. How? She is understandably upset.
You're out sleeping with some other woman? Do you even know what you've done? What happened?
The pastor comes over and asks John if he wants to make this marriage work.
You're going to have to ask yourself the hardest questions. Do you want to fix this?
He didn't ask Stacy if she wants to make the marriage work. But you know, we're going to assume that she has already said she wants to make it work, even though we don't see that. Luckily for Stacy, John is a good man deep down, and he actually really does want to overcome his problems. John has a huge courage boost and decides to face his alcohol addiction head on.
God, please, give me the strength to break free from these chains!
Not gonna lie, that was epic, dude. After this dramatic scene where John invokes the power of God, we hear him over a dark screen, finally expressing his feelings.
I don't know where to begin. And the weight of all this is overwhelming, and I'm having a lot of trouble dealing with it.
John is talking to a therapist. Finally.
That weight on your shoulders is for Jesus to carry.
Oh, she's a Jesus therapist. I don't love that. I don't love that. A Jesus therapist is better than no therapist. But I have personally been to my fair share of Jesus therapists. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. At least John is learning how to process his emotions in a healthier way. We're here. We made it. John's therapist recommends he works through his childhood trauma and faces the death of his father. John gives a beautiful long monologue, again, long, where he processes through all of his feelings and his trauma. Granted, it's difficult to bottle all that up for 2 decades, but I don't think we need to see all of it. We don't need to hear everything that he's thinking. But because John was finally able to process his childhood trauma and talk about his feelings, Stacy now feels ready to drive in the car with him, I guess. We then fast forward to 1 year later, where Stacy's holding a scavenger hunt of sorts for her family.
I got a clue too.
What is it?
Something waits for you in a safe place. What do you think?
I don't know.
Could it be in the safe?
Maybe.
Only one way to find out, right?
What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you get?
That's right. Another baby on the way.
Yes, let's get your hair. Grandma likes your hair.
You're so beautiful, you know that.
Oh, look. That's the picture. That's the picture from the thumbnail. 2 hot people by Pretty Fall Leaves. It's the last shot of the movie. To say I feel deceived is an understatement. All right, here's my final thoughts. This movie, if you cut out all of the montages, the lengthy, repetitive flashbacks, and the really slow dialogue where we hear every word of conversation and see every thought that John has, yeah, this movie could have been about 20 minutes long. The cinematography, beautiful. The acting, really good. Movie itself, I don't think it's good. I don't even think this movie is a good thing for Christianity. The movie's just distressing the entire time with a few vague mentions of how Jesus can help you. I also think it's important to point out that Christians sometimes rely a little too much on Jesus when it comes to mental health problems. People who have real deep issues, they're often just told to pray and read their scriptures and turn to Jesus, and Jesus will make everything better. Going to church is great. Going to church is fine. But when it comes to people who have serious trauma and need help, seeing a non-religious based therapist or psychiatrist is the best way to start your healing journey. Well, I'm really glad that's over. Let me know in the comments if there's something else you want me to watch and review or talk about. I've got lots of fun plans for this channel moving forward, so hopefully you like the things I have to say. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting me. And if you want me to make more content like this, please subscribe.
You need Jesus.